Hello and welcome to Hard Copy. I am Terry Ikumi. The gruesome rape and murder of 22 years old Vera Owala-Omozua a few days ago has somehow shifted attention slightly away from the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria and displaced major hashtags on social media. Justice for Owa has been trending on social media for days, coming on the heels of Justice for Tina, who was shot by a policeman in Lagos, and now followed by Justice for Barakat, among others. Although that of Tina is not related to sexual violence, the fact that she's a female has further highlighted additional dangers that the female gender faces in the country, apart from crimes directly targeted at her gender, such as rape. Now, these calls for justice have brought to the front burner the different responses of authorities who are saddled with the responsibility of ensuring the safety of women. Now, in Nigeria, federal and state authorities have territorial jurisdiction over matters of rape and sexual violence, and the penalties for this heinous crime differ from state to state. In Owala's case, following a national outcry which has seen the intervention of the President and the National Assembly, investigations have now been transferred to the force headquarters by the Inspector General of Police. However, the Edo State government will still have to own the responsibility of prosecution. Tonight on Hard Copy, we speak with Maria Edeko, Commissioner for Social Development and Gender Issues in Edo State. She is also a lawyer and former chairperson of the International Federation of Female Lawyers, FIDA, in Edo State. She's in our Benin studio. Commissioner Maria Edeko, welcome to Hard Copy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm very curious to find out, and I think many Nigerians are, how the Edo State government is taking this. We know that the case has now been transferred to Abuja, but how's the Edo State government handling this beyond just the statements we've seen or heard?
Thank you very much. The investigation is being done, meeting with best practices, the fingerprints, the forensic, because when we visited the father, the parents, the fire extinguisher that they used him brutally, to murder that young girl. We're still at his scene, according to him, before the police came to retrieve all of that. And so suspects have been apprehended. And being a criminal case, you need to prove beyond reasonable doubt.
Commissioner, I'm going to ask you again. How is the Edo State handling the issue of rape as far as this is concerned and on a wider scale? Because Edo State has quite a history with rape. I don't know if you're familiar, but sometime in 2016, we had about 133 cases of rape. About 133 cases are reported within a span of about, say, 4 years or thereabout. Last year alone, we had almost 10 cases of rape reported.
To handle rape cases, we have the laws. Edo State is one of the few states in the Federation that have adopted, or people will want to call it, domestication of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. That has been domesticated. The criminal code is there, and usually for a state that have domesticated that law, that is a plus. And you also know we have set up the Sexual Assault Referral Center. That is for the victim, for the survivor. In this case, Uwa did not survive. Uwa died. But the parents are alive. I will talk about that because my ministry is Ministry of Social Development. Trauma, the psychosocial support we are going to bring to the family, to the parents. I will talk about that. For prosecution, I think we are doing very well because these days with the Sexual Assault Referral Committee made up of Ministry of Social Development and Gender Issues, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Health, the police, this and some other NGOs, it facilitates investigation and prosecution. So in Edo State, we have a very robust system of handling sexual assault cases. Yeah.
So I'm worried here as to how the state is one of the few states that has domesticated the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, and you
Yeah.
say that's working for the state. How many convictions has the Edo State government been able to secure concerning rape cases since you domesticated that act?
Right now, I don't have the statistics to, because we've just we are trying to set up the sexual offense register, and the various bodies like the Ministry of Justice, they have to do with prosecution of cases.
So you
But
so you
if I
don't
had,
you don't have the statistics of the number of rape cases that the state government has. But
no, I don't have that.
do you have an estimate?
No, I don't want to guess, but I know that the way we are handling the rape cases and defilement cases and gender-based violence, we are securing lots of convictions.
So here's why that's just
you
a
will see
second. So here's why that may be a problem or a bother to quite a number of persons. You're the Commissioner for Social Development and Gender Issues. You're a lawyer. You've also worked with FIDA as its chairperson. So I'd like to believe that you're on top of the situation as far as gender-related issues are concerned, which also trickles down to rape cases. Is that correct?
Sorry, I'm not hearing you.
So I said,
I'm not hearing you.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm basically trying to get the details of the kind of steps the government is taking to address the issues of rape, and trying to get you to give a definite statement, or at least give a clear figure or suggest an estimate of how impactful the fight against
I'm not
the issue
hearing
of rape has been.
You know what you have asked is statistic data. Data is very important. But coming for this interview impromptu, I don't think I have it, it's not something I need to memorize.
All right, so I take
So,
it you don't have the
yeah,
information
but
then.
that is not what, that is not the relevant thing. As such, it's not quite, it's good, it's important, but the most important thing in issue of rape and defilement is the system you have in place for dealing with this issue.
So what
And like I
system
have-
does the Edo State government
Yeah,
have in place?
Yeah, what you need to, in terms of crime, first of all, is to have laws that are contemporary. And I have told you that Edo State is one of the few states out of the 36 states in the Federation that have domesticated the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. And that is a law that is very broad in scope. And it expanded the scope of rape as different from that, the provisions of the criminal code.
If I may come in
For
here,
me-
Commissioner, just a second. If I may come in here. So
Yeah.
the VAP Act is very well commended. Many people have said that it closes any loopholes as far as the issues of violence against persons, especially rape, are concerned. But it's quite questionable because we know that in this country it's beyond the laws that we promulgate. It's more about the laws, and it's more about how we enforce these laws. So it's very important for us to find out from you as a person in government. We'll come to your work as the chairperson of FIDA to talk about how rape issues can be better addressed. But as a government, how can government, or how is your government better handling the issues of rape like this to give confidence to the women, the girls, the children in Edo State, especially because I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that Edo State will be having its elections in September, and women are going to come out to vote, and they might fear issues of harassment.
Thank you. I don't think that in Edo State that women need to be afraid, because what we have in any civilized system is to have laws and institutions to deal with the issue of crime. And I think Edo State, like I've mentioned, we have the law, we have the institution.
I'd like you to take us through the process of handling rape cases in Edo State from when the case is reported to when conviction is secured?
We have a very good system in place. Most cases, when there's issue of rape or defilement or gender-based violence, you see victims' family, could report to the police. Majority come to the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Issues. Some go to NGOs. But wherever a report is made, what we do is to ensure that the police, they are involved. And that is why the Commissioner of Police in Edo State is a member of the steering committee that deal with sexual assault. And because he's a member of that committee, investigation is thoroughly done. Now, while investigation is going on with the Sexual Assault Referral Center that has just been set up, the one-stop center, forensic, examination is done, treatment of the victim by the medical team, because we have doctors and nurses, and we commence with the social support, which is the support, the clinical support given by the social worker, by the clinicians that are in the Ministry of Social Development. I was saying in the last few months, Edo State, with the support of RULAC, trained these social workers. They trained the medical doctors and the nurses. Once you are able to get this, we are able to collect these evidences, it's a whole lot easier to secure conviction. And prosecution starts. Recently, even during the lockdown, within very few days, we were able to secure conviction for certain persons that, were involved in incest, rape, defilement.
How many people?
For the records we had, at my ministry, within this period, we had incidences of almost about 50 persons that were involved in gender-based violence, consisting of rape, defilement, incest, and other form of assaults. The
Fine.
security agencies, they need to deal with people that are trafficking drugs, because many of the persons that are committing this rape, defilement, gender-based violence is induced by those substances they consume. So in all the nooks and crannies of our community, drugs are freely sold. So the security agencies need to deal with this so that our children and our community can be safe.
Thank you so much. Just before I let you go, I'd like to draw your attention to something that your last statement doesn't really paint a clear picture. And I think it would be dangerous of us to streamline the issues of rape in one direction. I say that because most of the crimes, in fact, a great percentage of the crimes that are being committed are not being done under the influence of drugs or alcohol. And we cannot keep creating excuses for our men to keep raping. But in all, thank you so much for finding time to come speak with us on Hard Copy.
Thank you.
Well, let's go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll speak with a gender activist. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to Hard Copy. My next guest also joins via our studio in Benin. She runs the Society to Heighten Awareness of Women and Children Abuse, Sotawaka, Ronke Ojikiri. Welcome to Hard Copy, Ronke. From your countenance, I can tell that this really hit you hard, just as it did many of us. Well, what was your first reaction when you heard about Uwa's case?
Thank you very much. The news of Uwaila's death reached me on Sunday. I wasn't in Benin when it happened, but when I came back, as usual, went on social media and I saw all the information that was being streamed. The good part about all of this was that my colleagues and swung into action immediately. They heard about the news, and they actually went to the scene of the rape and took pictures. So I was able to talk to one of the lead people on it, and she gave me kind of a vivid description of what what they had seen. I also asked what the police were doing in relation to what they had seen, because my surprise was that if such a thing had happened and people still had access to the church, I knew that whatever evidences were going to be collected would be contaminated. She said, well, that the things were still lying there. They saw the canister of extinguisher that was used to hit her on the head, and so many of Uwaila's different articles, but that she said that her phone had been taken away. She also did say that with the phone they would be able to track whoever was involved in this matter. But that wasn't my primary concern. My primary concern was that people still had access to that church, and I didn't understand it. People were going there, lifting things and all of that. But when the police PPRO now came up with a press release as to what they had seen, I laughed, because if you say you took fingerprinting of the things that were left there, you didn't remove the evidence. So anybody can now take that evidence and throw it away. Back to your question, how I received it. I am a mother. I'm a mother of an undergraduate. I'm a mother who cares about where her child goes to at any given time. I'm a mother who's concerned about other children, because basically my area of focus is on women and children. And when I look at women and children, I look at sexual abuse of women and children. So this was one very pathetic case to me. This was one case that shocked me to my bone marrows. And I still cannot comprehend why anybody would rape an innocent girl. Not only would you rape her, you would batter her to the extent that it eventually snuffed her alive. What is it that child could have done that would merit her dying in such a way? You rape her is bad enough, you know. You took away her dignity. You took away every self-respect from her. But, you know, one question also that I ask myself, did Uwaila really know these people? Was that why they killed her? Those are questions that are begging for answers. And until we get those answers, we really cannot say too much about it. Yes, we are asking for justice. We are asking for justice because though she is dead, the perpetrators must be brought out, must be found, and justice must be done. But truly speaking, even if we get justice for Uwaila, it's never going to bring her back. But at least it will serve as a deterrent to whoever is planning to perpetrate such heinous crimes on other victims. As I'm speaking now, somebody may be getting raped, somebody may be getting defiled. Since Uwaila's case, we know how many cases have come up of people who are being raped and being killed. I ask myself, is this a fad that is going on?
Exactly my point, because it does appear that people now do things like this confidently, knowing that they will get away with it. I mean, social media has been buzzing with accusations left, right, and center. And just few days after, maybe 24 hours, 48 hours after Uwa's case, we heard about the case in Oyo State. We heard about the one in Ekiti State. And then it draws the question, what exactly could be fueling the confidence of rapists at a time like this when the conversation is even louder? And considering that we have laws in place, seemingly so, to tackle something like this, but it doesn't seem to be deterring these offenders.
Well, I would say that most of these rape offenders believe that the follow-up by the survivors, I refuse to use the word victims, you know, by the survivors. Most of the families drop out at the end of the day. They don't want to come to testify in court.
Some of the reports we've got have suggested that some bow out, not just because of stigmatization or pressure, but because of the cost of pursuing this justice. Is that the same thing you've observed during the course of your work?
They look at how much money they use to come to court. They look at how much money they are spending in the hospital. They look at so many things. So before then, even before then, they tell you that when they report the matters in the police station, the police in themselves are the first to say, listen, let us settle this thing out of court. Save yourself all the wahala. But we are saying no. Let us go through the process. Once we have finished evidence from your child or your ward, there's no point in you. We'll just continue from there and let it be the matter of the state. And people who have made up their mind that they are not going to show up in court, or who have made up their mind that they want to be settled, the telephone number at which you can reach them, they no longer pay the telephone that number anymore, or they just discard of that SIM card and get a new one. So you cannot even trace them anymore.
Sorry to butt in here. Is it also an issue of the extent of the punishment, the degree of punishment? Because we've heard conversations that have said that the punishments are not enough. We have the VAP Act, we have the Child Rights Act, we have the Penal Code, we have the Criminal Code. All these laws proffer punishments. But at the end of the day, it seems like it's not enough. Only recently, the House of Reps turned down an amendment to a motion for castration of rapists' men. Is this a punishment issue? Is this why we still have cases like this thriving almost on a daily basis?
Well, initially we all said the punishment is not commensurate with the crime that has been committed onto a person. But with the VAP law that is in place now, well, it has gone from 2 years down to 14 years and thereabout.
But that in itself is a problem, I believe, because just like the Child Rights Act, the VAP Act has not been domesticated in all the states of the Federation.
Well, yes, but in Edo State we have done that, and we are working on we're working with the VAP laws and everything. So I believe that everything boils down to education and sensitization, if you ask me. My fear, and that is what I always say to mothers and families, listen here, the crime was not committed onto you, it was committed onto your ward or onto your child. Can we at least ensure that we see that that child can grow past that stage? Let's try and walk us through the healing process. They will tell you so.
I totally agree with you, because if you look at the cases on social media right now, they're from years back. So people have held in a lot for so long, and I totally agree with you on this one. But in all, I'd like to say thank you so much for finding time to come and speak with us on Hard Copy, and good luck with the work that you do.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, that's Hard Copy tonight. Thanks for watching. Remember to drop a comment via our email address or social media handle on your screen. And remember to check out our podcast on channelstv.com/podcasts. Have a great night. I'm Terry Ikumi.